Well, today is September 19th, a Monday, which is the most boring day starting of the week. But, however, how we're going to make this a fun day since it's a Monday, where we're going to keep reviewing some awesome wrestling events been going on. We're going to be reviewing First Wrestling, which is dates back all the way to the 10th of September, where they go to the Mall of America and they also feature wrestlers from AEW. We even got, of course, the much recent events with GCW versus TNT back in Liverpool that took place on the 17th. And of course, also on the 17th, we have, of course, Wrestling Revolver with Tales from the Ring, where we have, of course, Swerve and Our Glory taking on the Crew and many other things. But we also got AEW Dark Elevation, and of course, a couple of news updates to see what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J. Rod here. So, let's begin with First Wrestling. This is a promotion I never actually seen or reviewed before. So this is the first time ever for me. Now, I want to say this for the record. This is why Deleted Wrestle Zone exists, because I talk about promotions that we may not have heard of, but I like to review it. You know, I recently did one with the Thailand promotion Set Up, and this is why it exists. So you guys can get a clear mind what's cool to watch. So, right now with First Wrestling, they had their Saturday Night Nitro at the Mall of America and also features wrestlers from AEW. Now, our first thing it started out is Eric Cannon versus Darren Corbin. Now, Darren Corbin did not want to be in a match against Eric Cannon, but Jerry Lynn, who seems to be running the promotion, called Darren Corbin a coward since he refuses to challenge Eric Cannon. But however, it was Eric Cannon that finally got the upper hand on him. As you know, there were many Darren Corbin tried to put him away in every way possible to see him, ended right here. But Eric Cannon won. But however, there's like a title that he wanted. I'm not sure if this is the one that he wanted. I think he's he's the current WrestlePalooza champion. But however, that match was never going to happen. But sooner or later, it will happen. Now, our next match, we have Joshi versus Ethan Page. Now, Ethan Page did not want to confront Joshi, so he was trying to take the match outside the ring regardless of anything else. But luckily, he was able to get back in. Joshi put up a good fight, but however, it was just too much for the All Ego himself until he applied the Ego's Edge. 1, 2, 3, it was done right from there. Now, our next match we have is a four-way match for the First Wrestling Uptown VFM title. We have Riley Jackson, Linz Dorada, Brandon Gore, and of course the champion Devin Monroe. I thought this match was pretty good because I did talk about Devin Monroe in the FE's Big Game Brunch recently. He's a really good champion. I think he was really surprisingly the way he handled things. Now, the person who seems like he wanted this title the most is Riley Jackson, but it was a no-go. But Riley Jackson ended up on this signature move that, of course, Devin Monroe, the commentators called it Taste of the Rainbow. And 1, 2, 3, he retained his title. Now, our next match, we feature a special guest referee, and it's none other than Lisa Marie Varon. You guys know her. She was from WWF, TNT, and the match was Free Range Kara versus Billy Starks. I thought the match was pretty good. I saw It was really amazing. But it seems like Lisa did play half and half, basically being a bit of the neutral type, played exactly as she did. But however, it was free range Kara that applied the crucifix onto Billy Starks. 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Billy Starks decided, since she's a sore loser, decided to disrespect Lisa Marie Varon, but she ended up on the wrong end of the Widow's Peak, and it was done. So she left her laying down on the ground. Next up, this one is a fun match. We got Effie versus Orange Cassidy. I always talk about how unique wrestlers are, and I said these two are on that level, the uniqueness. Now, you probably say that Orange would just through the punch. No, basically he tried to go. He went around the ring ropes and nothing like that. But of course, you have to be more. I think Effie was very more careful not to get Orange Punch. But however, it was too late. Ended up in that fashion. The Orange Punch sealed the deal. 1, 2, 3. It was over. Now, our next match is a Rumble match. We have Warhorse versus Ryan Cruz versus Cal Creed versus Shane Black versus Thunder Frog versus Dark Sheik versus Badger Briggs versus Black Stallion versus ESQ versus Lore. Now, I don't know much of some of these wrestlers, but it seems like everybody were fans of Thunder Frog. I don't know why. And this guy has like a somewhat version of the hammer from Thor. That's the one thing that was crazy. When he stomps it on the ring, everybody jumps out of the ring in hopes that maybe they'll get out. But this is the order how it went down, who got eliminated. First, it was Cal Creed, ESQ, Badger Briggs, Black Stallion, Allure, Ryan Cruz, Shane Black, Warhorse, then Dark Sheik. So basically the way it ended is, of course, with the Thunder Frog using his little hammer, gives it to Dark Sheik, and Dark Sheik kind of was pulled onto the ground. As you've seen the movie Thor, how it is, you have to lift the hammer. So did not work on this time, so it ended in that way. Now our next match, we have former wrestlers who we've seen from Ring of Honor. One of them one was with AEW, but now back with Ring of Honor. So we have Dak Draper taking on Boom Boom Colt Cabana. Boom Boom. Yep. I haven't seen Colt Cabana for quite some time, but it's great to see him. Same old that he was doing the same old tricks. But however, it was of course Cabana that picked up an amazing victory with Dak Draper with an amazing pinfall, and it was done from there. Now, the story does not end there. Once again, the current first WrestlePalooza champion shows up. Tried to piss off Jerry Lynn because, Jerry Lynn tried to rain on his parade. But however, Jerry Lynn showed up, not appreciating what he was saying. So what he did, he whacked his sorry ass with the chair. Basically showing him, I'm not here to mess with. So it's a little tough love for you. So who knows when things will go. Now our next match, this was the main event that we were expecting. We had Dante Martin versus Rob Van Dam. I thought the match was going to be amazing. After the first 4 minutes, it was interrupted. Not by sneak attack. We had the arrival of Sonny Kiss and Aria Daivari of the Trustbusters. So basically, it's been told that, of course, Aria Daivari was a 2-time WrestlePalooza champion. And he feels, why wasn't he not invited in this particular event? We don't know why. So they decided to turn this main event into a tag match. So Dante and Rob Van Dam teamed up while they take on the Trustbusters, Aria Daivari, and Sonny Kiss. Now, I have to say the Trustbusters played a good part where they try to isolate Dante Martin away from Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam playing cool and all. He knows that this is a strategy plan, but sooner or later, Rob was going to get tagged in. But he did finish off Aria Daivari with the infamous 5-star frog splash. And that's how it ended. I thought it was a pretty good event, and I enjoyed it. And not to mention, Dante Martin showed some respect to Rob Van Dam, even opened the ring ropes for him to walk out, showing that he is a legend. You always will be a legend. So, what a great time, and I have to say, this is a good show to enjoy. They don't do this monthly. The last event they did was back in March, I believe. But I don't know how the things work with them, but I can enjoy. So hopefully there's more events coming from First Wrestling. And do I recommend any of you guys to watch it? I say yes. It may not be the best one, but there was some good matches you can enjoy. So I think that's pretty much it. I believe it's time to move on with GCW versus TNT. Okay, GCW versus TNT. Now, this is a very interesting matchup. We have two different promotions that mostly get involved in death or hardcore matches, and I thought it was a perfect setting. Of course, each of the entrants from GCW and TNT had their own ring announcers. I don't know about the whole thing with the referees, but it is great to hear it. Now, our first match we have is Blake Christian versus Robbie X. Now, this is the kind of match I enjoy because there's a lot of spots, but I also like to say this was a good opener. So, as you can tell, a lot of high flying taking place. But the one thing that really stand out is how Blake Christian was able to overcome this by applying his move, jumping on top of Robbie X, and then boom, right in the back of the head, knocking him out. 1, 2, 3, he wins the match. Now, next up, we have tag team action. We have the Kings of the North, Bonesaw and Damian Corvin versus Jordan Oliver and Cole Radrick. Now, I have to say this was a pretty good match because it showed these two guys are taking it up a step a notch against the Kings of the North. But you can tell by this that the Kings of the North are too powerful. They kind of a bit of the powerhouse type wrestlers. But however, that's not the one thing on their mind. They have one thing in their mind, and their mostly is to regain the tag team titles they have recently lost. But it was, of course, Bonesaw that finished off Jordan Oliver with a big lariat. 1, 2, 3, it was done. But of course, they try to show respect to them, but apparently Kings of the North have no time for that, or they don't even care, because the one thing they want right now is to regain the the tag team titles are currently in the possession of La Rebellion. So yes, now you know Rebellion is not involved too. Now our next match we have Man Like the Reese taking on GCW's resident a-hole, Tony Deppen. Now of course, MLJ would say we may not like it because he's an asshole, but he's an our asshole, and it's true. That's the thing. But I have to say he took the fight to both of these guys took everything out of their energy to beat the crap out of each other. But it was in fact it was delirious with a 450 splash to seal the deal that ended 1, 2, 3, pinning Tony Deppen, and he won. Now our next match is a regular 6-man tag team match. We have, well, it's a death match. We have Team GCW consistent with Jimmy Lloyd and of course the current GCW tag team champions, the Mega Bastards, Alex Colon and John Wayne Murdoch. They take on Team TNT consistent with the current TNT Extreme Division champion Clint Margera, Big Joe, and Drew Parker. Now, I thought this match was pretty fun because it showed a lot of the more dangerous tactics, but in this case, I was impressed. I wasn't sure how this was going to outcome, but it was, of course, a brain buster on the chair by John Wayne Murdoch onto what's his name? Oh yeah, Margera to seal the deal, and I thought it was impressive. Now our next match we have female action. We have Leslie Evo taking on Alley Catch. Now you probably would have assumed that Alley Catch was going to walk out, but however, no. Lizzie Evo put everything to the max, all the way without the help of her tag partner, but she really did pretty good job with no help. So she gave a vicious knee strike up to Alley Catch. I think that was what it was. Yeah, it was a knee strike. 1, 2, 3. She won the match. Next up, we got Joey Janela versus Gene Money. I thought it was also another cool match because, you know, These guys, I don't know much about them, but I couldn't tell. Now, keep in mind, if this guy would have beaten Joe Janela, he would have had a shot of the DDT Extreme Championship. But it did not. It was Joe Janela with the double stomp on with money on his chest with the chair. Boom! It won the match. Next up, we got a very interesting three-way match. We have Chi Monet, Effie, and Visage. This is more of the battle of you know the homosexual characters. But these three took it to the max completely. I thought it was very interesting, but there was a moment with a kiss with Monet and Effie, and I thought it was like, okay, that's distraction. But it was, of course, Monet that pinned Visage to give a better victory. Now, our main event is the TNT World Championship. Now, this is between Matt Cardona and Dan Maloney. Now, Matt Cardona, before anything started, he started saying that he is going to win this title and take it with him to the United States, where it properly needs a better champion. Now, keep in mind, he already has two championships, the Internet Champion that he self-made himself, and I forgot what was the other one. But, of course, many of us would say in GCW fan base would say, TNT guy, Dan Maloney, you better be sure to keep that title. You don't want it around him. So I think that kind of is the game here. Basically, Matt Cardona, it thinks he's all that he's going to elevate the whole thing. But I have to say Manoli actually took it straight up to him. But however, Matt Cardona was going to use dirty tactics because he does not have Chelsea Green by his side. He did low blow Dan Maloney, but it did not work. But Maloney gave him that same thing, but it was the Thriller Killer that sealed the deal for him to retain the title. And bye bye, Matt Cardona. So that's pretty much it. So this was the last time they'll be here. They should be on the way home for their upcoming event. And then after that, we got the Japanese event. So I think that's pretty much it right now with GCW versus TNT. I believe it's time for Wrestling Revolver. Okay, Wrestling Revolver, Tales from the Ring. This one just recently took place on the 17th, and I failed to mention GCW versus TNT also took place on that very same day too, but Liverpool time. It opened up with the Impact Wrestling World Championship between the challenger, one called Manders, versus Josh Alexander. Now this is going to be a pound for pound type of match. That's how it is. These guys are a bit of the powerhouse type. Not to mention, that's how I feel it was going to go. But it was the C4 spike by Josh Alexander that sealed the deal. But there's no shame in one called Manders. He really put up a good fight against the walking weapon. Next up, we have Damian Chambers. Now, this guy, for who knows how long, he's been complaining and moaning that he never gets a spot in Game Changer Wrestling. However, he called out anybody in the back to show up, and it was, oh, baby. That's right, he got kids. He showed up. Now, you probably say that would have been awesome, but of course, that's the one thing it was really good is that he stepped up to a guy like him. But it was, of course, his finisher. I forgot what he called it. The heart attack? No. I don't remember what he called it. What's that move? It's still a deal for him to win. And sorry, Damien, you better luck next time. But luckily, Johnny E. Bravo wasn't there to help him. Now, GCW received an amazing message from someone. And I believe you guys are going to be surprised. This is going to be his official debut with, I believe, with GCW. With Wrestling Revolver. That is none other than Animo. Ray Phoenix will be making his way too. And I believe his debut will be in December, which is pretty good, I have to say. So I can't wait to see what he's going to bring into the table into Wrestling Revolver. Now, our next match, we have a bit of a dream match. We have the Kingdom, consistent of Vincent, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven taking on the Rascals. That's right, we have Myron Reed, Trey Miguel, and Zachary Wentz. I was so impressed with this match. Now, These are the young boys taking on the veterans. That is a dream match. But there's a lot of high spots. But keep in mind, there is an X factor in this. Vincent does have an expertise in trios. Not to mention, he's been 4-time six-man tag team champion in Ring of Honor. That makes him that he has the much better experience because he has to direct traffic. But in this particular, Vincent fell prey to the pinfall by being rolled up by Myron Reed to win a match. We probably would say it was impossible to take on these young boys actually taking on the vets. Well, this time the boys took care of business and they became men. Next up, we have the infamous Monsters Ball match. We have Crash Jackson versus Madman Fulton versus Warhorse versus the French Canadian Frankenstein PCO. Now, you know this is going to take a lot of things, a lot of toys will be used and all this and what. That is what makes what they do in this. But however, it was of course a moonsault by PCO where Madman Fulton is laying on his dang back with full thumbtacks. That stuff hurts like hell. But that's exactly what it is. So the French Canadian Frankenstein moonsault Madman Fulton 1, 2, 3. It was over. Now our next match, we have an Iowa Death match. We have Jake Chris taking on Joel Bateman. Now I mentioned this guy before. He's been with ICW before. Was the ICW American Deathmatch champion. I thought this match was pretty good. I just did not anticipate a whole lot, but Jake Chris was able to overturn everything. Now you probably would think, if you guys been following Deathmatch Wrestling, those who did their homework on Joel Bateman, you'd probably say Joel Bateman has this is his forte. But however, it was overturned by Jake Chris when he applied a powerbomb on top of some glass that sealed the deal for him to win the match. Now, our next match, this was a very unique match. This is the Campfire Rules match. We have Infrared, Logan James, and Tyler Matrix taking on Man Scout. We're talking about, of course, Dan the Dad, and of course, Jake Manning, the Scout. I thought this match was really fun. Now, you probably guess what they brought, like stuff for camping ground. They used tents, all of it. But it was, of course, Jake Manning who put Logan James through a tent that was filled with barbed wires, and he picked up a good win against them. And of course, Scout's honor, he won. So, so that's how he does it. Next match, Sami Callihan, as you know, he decided to throw in a little promo over the fact that he has a three-way match against Moose and Steve Macklin. Now, keep in mind, Macklin has been making appearances in Wrestling Revolver. He was the Wrestling Revolver Tag Team Champion with Blake Winston, but they lost the titles to OGK recently. But things got a little hairy, but we'll see for that. Now, our next match, we have, of course, a open challenge for the X Division Championship from Impact Wrestling. Thanks to Mike Bailey, he brought Billy Starks, JD Griffin, Dante Leon, Gringo Loco, and Chris Bay. Now, keep in mind, Chris Bay was a former X Division champion. I thought this match was going to be insane. Now, however, I did notice Billy Starks was the one who tries to ensure that the match goes in her favor. But I think what I find impressive is how he put an ultimate weapon on top of 3 people, but he was able to pin Dante Leon in order to win. It shows that he is not joking around, that he should be taken very seriously. Now, the real question is, will he lose the X Division title? That's yet to be seen until the day comes. Now, our next match is the Revolver Championship between Jessica and JT Dunn. Now, you know that piece of garbage Phil Stamper was going to be there. Someone had to beat his ass up. But, however, it did not go exactly. Now, Jessica really was trying to throw him out of there. But the one X factor in this particular match was the fact is that Allie Katch wasn't there. If you guys know where she is, she was on the other side of the globe in UK. But she did provide distraction by having JT Dunn to whack her in the back of the head. and of course win the match. But while JT Dunn left in the post match, Stumper ended up getting his ass whooped by Jessica. So that's pretty much it. Now our main event is the Crew, consistent of Matthew Palmer and Rich Swann, to take on their former friend Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, Swerve in our glory. Now keep in mind, not too long ago, Swerve decided to betray Rich Swann, tossing him off that structure thing. Basically, it was still unclear why, but the match was so intensified. I thought it was really amazing, but it was, of course, that powerbomb stomp that gave them the deal when they put away Matthew Palmer. However, um, after the match, Swerve wanted to attack more on Rich Swann, but Keith Lee tried to reason with him. But this feud between Swann and Swerve is far from over. So basically, he is not done with him. Now, we could see that match take place, but we just don't know when. And I just hope Sami Callihan gets that match and get it done. So I think that's pretty much it with Wrestling Revolver. I believe it's time to do, AEW Dark Elevation. Okay, AEW Dark Elevation. This was in Albany, in case anybody wondered. We opened up with Zach Clayton taking on this guy who's an Albany native, Conan Lycan. Now it turns out that Zach Clayton is originally from, of course, Albany, but apparently he lives at the Jersey Shore. Now, basically, is the battle of the Albanese, who's the dominant one. Well, it turned out in this particular match, it was, of course, Zach Clayton when he applied some sort of like a backbreaker with using his two knees to win the match. I don't know what to call that, but I don't know if Zach Clayton will be already stepping up to hopefully become an AEW star. We know he tried to audition for WWE, but we'll see what happens in the near future for him. Next up, we got Nyla Rose being accompanied by Marina Shafir and Vicky Guerrero to take on Becca. Now, you probably can guess, this one ended with, of course, Nyla Rose winning the match with the Beast Bomb. And all of a sudden, there was a promo. But first things first, we know we have to hear the excuse me scene thanks to Vicky, passed on the mic to Marina Shafir, who is also a native of Albany. But basically, she's trying to act like, people don't know jack about her. So that kind of throws in a little bit of the heat on it. But we'll see what happens down the road with her story. Next up, we got Private Party. Isaiah and Mark will be taking on MSP, Agro Aiden, and Danger Kid. It was a pretty good tag team. I've seen these guys, MSP, a bunch of times. Recently, I have seen them on the FE Big Gay Brunch. But however, I forgot which one ended up on the wrong side of the gin juice, giving Private Party the win. Now our next match, we have Sky Blue versus Chica Carreras. Very interesting name. Now you probably this was a very easy match for her, so she put like a flatliner in order to win the match, and that's how it goes. Next up, we see Dalton Castle and the boys taking on Bujin, Rick, Recon, and Omar. Now, I have to say Dalton and the boys really were impressive. As always, who doesn't love Dalton Castle? But I love how he utilizes the boys to toss them around to his opponents. Each one gets a boy. And I thought it was great. But however, it was what was it? The bag in a lay by Dalton to finish on Bojin. 1, 2, 3. The Dalton and the boys win. Next up, we got Jora Joel taking on Frankie Kazarian. This was a very interesting match. I think Jora Joel is getting a little better, in his wrestling craft. But however, in this one, he ended up on the wrong side of the chicken wing. Now, he did avoid it once, but the second try, it did not go so well. So, of course, he had no other choice but to tap out. Now, our next match, we have Sepertinko with Luther taking on the debut of Máscara Dorada. I thought that was a really fun match because we have two luchadors, but the only difference is Serpentico doesn't go outside the ring that much or high flying. He's more of the groundwork guy, which he mentioned on a AEW podcast interview, but it was great that he put up the effort. But in this case, it was Mascara Dorada with the airplane spin that allowed him to win the match. Now, our main event is the Butcher and the Blade, who are still like the local heroes around there, take on Leon Graves and Mike Anthony. I thought it was a good match. It showed, that Butcher and the Blade are still the hometown heroes, but it was Butcher and the Blade that did a double pin, that pinned both men to win the match. So, great ending right there. So I think that's pretty much it. What we got with AEW Dark Elevation. I believe it's time for news updates. Okay, welcome to the news updates here. So let's get started. Now, I mentioned this before when it comes to Stardom. We are not that far off from this weekend for the second showcase event. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, this is where they do these crazy matches. We had a hardcore match, a anywhere falls match, cosmic rules match, and of course a a coffin match. However, our matches have been announced for, of course, the Stardom event. Now, there's two that have been announced. One is continuing with the 5-star Grand Prix match. This one is more of a match that we should have gotten from before. It was, of course, Starlight Kid versus Suzuki. This is something we've been probably hoping because if you guys ever seen the press conference, it seems that Starlight Kid is very interested in Suzuki due to the fact that she's well aware about Zuzu's past towards Julia, and she feels like Julia taught her, and she wants a taste of that blood of hers. But of course, Zuzu, we all know her story. She hates Julia for what she did to her. So we'll be seeing that match. However, I was in a presumption when the start of the showcase began. We saw a clip a while back with Rossi Ogawa minding his own business, but he was interrupted by Saki Kashima, and then he was taken by the Grim Reaper. Now, we don't know for sure. I was thinking in the back of my head, okay, Saki Kashima will probably be in a match with the Grim Reaper. That's probably the obvious thing that was going on. But no, they showed a clip recently where Sudi was out walking, looking on her cell phone. She sees a car right there, and there was a man behind, and that's when she saw Rossi Ogawa. But close by, she called Utami and Lady C, telling them what was going on. So they managed to rescue Rossi Ogawa, and Rossi Ogawa told them it was the Grim Reapers. And of course, it's been announced that there's going to be a match between the Grim Reapers. One of them is, of course, been confirmed. Yu is back, and she'll have two other Grim Reapers. So the obvious question does remain about who are they? But however, someone pointed out that Rossi might have inadvertently said pirate. There's only one person we can think of, and that is, of course, Kairi Sane. So we don't know for sure if that's the case, but the Grim Reapers will be challenging against Utami Ishida, Lady C of Queen's Quest, and of course the leader of God's Eye, Sudi. Now this is a very interesting combination. Now you probably say, wait a minute, why would they Sudi team up with those two? Well, they're the ones that found Rossi, but this is going to be interesting. But we'll see what happens then. Now for the GCW update right now, we have very things going on. It was announced that Jonathan Gresham is set to return back to GCW. He is going to return on the Atlantic City events, Fight Club, I believe, on the 8th and 9th of October. He'll be in Detroit, Michigan on the 22nd, Columbus, Ohio on the 23rd of October, and then finally Providence on the 20th of November. So that's pretty much what is on his schedule for GCW. So it looks like he's going to have a deal with 5 events. Now the Fight Club Night 1 on the 8th has been announced that there's going to be a match between Dragon Gate star Yamato taking on the a-hole of GCW, Tony Deppen. And then finally, for the Japanese stuff that we've been hearing about, 2 matches have been announced for the 27th of this month. DOA, we have uh, Masashi Takeda versus Schlock. So that's one match that was announced for that. And the other one, we got Strong Hearts versus Joey Janela, Nick Wayne, and Jordan Oliver. So it's going to be an interesting trios match. Now, finally, this was a very interesting development. WWE has announced for their upcoming Survivor Series in November on the 26th. Apparently, for the first time ever in history, it's going to be War Games. So basically, they're bringing War Games into Survivor Series. Now, we normally see War Games in an NXT Takedown or recently with NXT 2.0, just like that. So I'm kind of curious how this is going to be played out right now. Are they going to bring wrestlers from NXT? We don't know. As you know, there were certain changes that had been happening recently with WWE. We'll be following that along as well. Now, as you know, for next month, we have Tokyo Pro Wrestling's upcoming event, one of their biggest events, Wrestle Princess 3. It was announced that 2 matches have been announced. We have Mizuki taking on Hyper Masala. Then there's a trios match. We have Aja Kong, Raku, and Pama Harajuku taking on Max the Impaler, Rika Tatsumi, and Yuki Inoue. Now, keep in mind, Pama Harajuku had a bad history match against Max the Impaler. I'm sure she got nightmares from that. Raku tried to encourage her, but this time they brought someone very interesting, the legendary Aja Kong. I know that Raku is close friends with both women, with both Palm and Aja, but I'm sure Aja is going to be a perfect fit to help them out. But of course, I know that Max the Impaler sort of had a bit of a friendship with Yuki Inoue. I don't know about Rika Tatsumi because the last time Riki Tatsumi teamed up with Shoko Nakajima and lost to her. So this is going to be a very interesting dynamic of this match. So I can't wait to see how this one's going to be. So I think that's pretty much it with our news updates. I believe it's time to call it a day. Okay, hope everybody enjoys this episode. Like I said, I was going to wing it, but it worked. However, I will be releasing a bit of a 2 episode coming up. One is going to be with Choco Pro and a review of my choosing. I haven't decided what yet, but I'll keep that. And then I'm going to have, of course, since today is Monday and tomorrow's going to be Tuesday. By the time this video will be released, will be on a Tuesday. I'll be doing Tuesday Wrestling by itself. We have NWA Power, AEW Dark, and NXT 2.0. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing for the next 2 episodes. Basically, I'm trying to plan everything as I go ahead of a day ahead of time, but we'll see how that plays out. So hopefully things go exactly according to plan for me, but we'll just have to wait and see. So I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day.